Thank you for purchasing Product Cost and Profit Calculator. To access the template, click the link in your PDF document. It will redirect you to Google Sheet website. Now click Use Template button in the upper right corner. Now you can use the calculator, which consists of 4 tabs in total: Instructions, Cost Calculator, Material Calculator, and Product List. Cost Calculator is your main tab. You can zoom in or out depending on your device. I'm using 75% here. Let's start by filling out the information table. Type in your product name, SKU, and quantity. To calculate the cost and price for a single unit, leave the quantity field at 1, otherwise it will affect all the calculations. You can choose your currency from the drop-down menu on your right. You have an option to select measurement units that will affect Material Calculator. Now it's time to move to step 1, calculating your product cost. Product cost consists of material cost, packaging cost, labor cost, and overhead expenses. Start by filling out the material cost table by typing in all the materials you use to create your product, their prices and quantities. If you don't know the price per unit, I will show you how to calculate that in the material calculator later. You want to be as accurate as possible and not leave any materials behind. You can see that the total cost is only calculated when the checkbox is selected. Checkbox system enables you to play around and see how different materials affect your total cost of goods. You have to select all the boxes to calculate the total material cost. Essentially, you can just fill this table once with all your materials and then switch them on and off depending on what product you are making. It is very important to account for production losses that happen in every industry. I recommend setting this number to 5 to 10%, but you can always leave it at 0. Now move to the packaging cost table and repeat the same steps you did previously. List all your packaging materials like boxes, tissue papers, and thank you cards. This table should not include the actual shipping labor cost, only packaging materials you use to ship your products. Make sure all the boxes are checked for the total packaging cost to be calculated. You can choose to set the loss percentage to your desired number as well. Now we're moving to the labor cost. Type in the type of work, your hourly wage, and how many minutes you spend doing this type of work. You can set different rates for different types of labor. For example, making item is more expensive than packaging and shipping it. For the labor cost, think about how much you would pay someone to do this work rather than doing it yourself. Set realistic numbers not less than minimum wage in your state, and you will see total labor cost calculated. For overhead expenses, you want to account for things like electricity, rental, gas money, or taxes. It entirely depends on your business. Just remember, the more accurate you are, the more detailed your expenses are, the better calculations of profit margins you will get later in this calculator. Now you can review your numbers. You have total cost of goods sold, your COGS, and a breakdown table of what is included. The cost breakdown chart is a nice way to see what takes up the majority of your product cost. For example, here it's material cost, followed by labor cost, then packaging cost, and overhead expenses. Step 2. Calculate your wholesale price. This is important even if you don't sell wholesale yet. Here you have 2 tables. The first one calculates your base wholesale price, meaning there are no fees included. The second one calculates price for wholesale marketplaces like Faire and Abound that charge you commission fees. Let's start with the base wholesale price. You can see your cost of goods from the previous step, profit margins in percentages that you can choose from, your price and revenue, and profit amounts. Depending on your industry, profit margin from 30 to 60% is standard, with 50% being the most recommended. 50% margin means you double your cost of goods. You can see that profit and cost of goods are the same. The breakdown below shows you they're equal. That brings your wholesale price to $16.55. Price and revenue are the same in this table because we don't account for fees. Now you can play around and select different profit margins to see how that affects your profit numbers. You can also think, how much profit do you want to make from this item? For example, if you want a profit of $12, you can see that would be 60% margin. Keep in mind that only one checkbox has to be selected. You will see zeros if you click on 2 or more. Also, you have an option to adjust profit margins. Let's say you want 55% instead of 50%, or let's make it even 83%. Numbers will adjust automatically. Once you have your base wholesale price in place, you can calculate price for wholesale marketplaces. Majority of marketplaces take 25% fee on opening orders and 10 to 15% on recurring orders. You have your base price here. Now select 25% commission, and the table below will show you how with the same price of $16 your revenue drops and your profit drops to $4, which equals 33% profit margin. The breakdown table now has cost of goods, profit, and fees. You have an option to adjust wholesale price. If you select this checkbox, the price will automatically adjust in a way to maintain the same revenue, the same profit, and the same profit margin like your base wholesale price. Now you can play around with commission numbers and see how you need to adjust your wholesale pricing for different marketplaces. You can review your numbers in the review section, your base wholesale price and profit, your price and profit for marketplaces, and I've included recommended prices if you're new to wholesale and don't know where to start. Moving on to retail pricing, there are 3 tables in this section, one for calculating cash retail price, no fees included, the next one calculates retail price for online websites like Shopify, and the third one calculates price for Etsy. Let's begin with the base retail price. In this table you have your wholesale price, profit margins, just like previous step, revenue and profit amounts. We need to put another profit margin on top of our wholesale price. This decision is up to you, but 50% is a golden standard you should aim for. With 50% margin, your price is now $33 and your profit is $24.83. You can now see how profit relates to cost of goods. Feel free to play around with profit margins until you reach your desired numbers. Now let's move on to online sales. You have your base retail price and all the fees online platforms like Shopify charge you. You can change these numbers according to your website provider. So now you can see the total fee amount you would pay to Shopify and how with the same price your revenue drops and your profit number drops. Fees are now visible in the breakdown chart below. If you want to adjust the price, click the checkbox and your price will be automatically adjusted to maintain the initial profit. Let's change profit margin to 50% because that's what we want and move on to Etsy sales. So Etsy has transaction fee, listing fee, and payment processing fees. You can see the total fee amount here. If we keep the same price, our revenue and profit drop to these numbers, which results in 44% profit margin, and the fees now take 10% in the breakdown chart. Click the checkbox to adjust price and it will automatically show you how much you should charge on Etsy to maintain your desired profit of 50% margin. If Etsy ever change their fees to, let's say, 10%, you can simply change this number here and calculations will be adjusted automatically. Now you can review your retail pricing. This is how much you need to charge for cash payments, Shopify payments, and Etsy payments to maintain the same profit. If you want to have the same price across all your sales channels, unclick the checkboxes and you will see how profit number is affected by fees and commissions you pay. Finally, we have step 4, review your numbers and set goals. You have your cost of goods, wholesale price and profit, and retail price and profit, and the fun part, goal setting tool. Here you have an option to set yearly, monthly, or daily goals. For example, let's set a monthly goal of $2,000. Table to the right will show you the breakdown of how many units you need to sell daily in retail or wholesale to reach that goal. You can also see how many units to sell a month. Now let's check, for example, the yearly goal of $50,000. We need to sell this many units a day, a month, and a year in retail or this many in wholesale. The chart next to it visually shows you the unit numbers. And this is the end of your calculations. You have an option here to jump to the top by clicking the green button. It will take you to the beginning of your calculations. Let me mention something about quantity. You now know how to calculate cost and price for a single unit, but let's say you want to check how much do you need to invest in order to make 200 units. Type 200 and check the breakdown section. This is how much you need to spend in materials and labor in order to produce 200 units of your product. Material calculator. If you don't know cost per unit for your items, or you're using vinyl, fabric, or any other type of flat materials, use this calculator tab. To calculate unit price, type in your material name, supplier, price per package, and how many units are in the package. You will get unit price calculated. And you can always change these numbers. To calculate the cost of used vinyl, scroll down, type in vinyl name and supplier, roll length, whether 5 or 10 feet, price per roll, and used width and length in inches. It will automatically calculate the total cost of vinyl piece. If you're using several different vinyls for your project, select them all by clicking on checkboxes and you will see total vinyl cost being calculated here. Fabric cost calculations work in the same manner. Type in your fabric name, supplier, fabric width, and price per yard. Then insert used fabric width and length in inches. You will get total cost. If you use several fabrics, select them all to calculate total fabric cost. You can always change inches to centimeters and dollars to your country's currency. All the tables will be automatically configured, so for fabric cost, for example, you would type price per meter and not yards. You will see centimeters where it's applicable, however, vinyl roll lengths will still be in Imperial system because that's how they're sold. The last tab is your product list. You can use this table to store your product's information. Simply copy-paste product name, SKU, production cost, and pricing. You can later export and print this page, for example. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. I'm always here to help.